Hey YouTube, this is Zach with Achilles Financial, and today we're going to talk about what is currently going on in the markets today, as well as what is especially happening in the real estate market. Right now on my channel, for the most part, we talk about stocks and the markets in general, a lot of options trading, a lot of stock trading. Today I want to talk a little bit more about real estate. What we saw during 2008-2009 is commonly known as the worst financial crisis or recession in modern history. And there were certain individuals who made a killing creating something called a short position, in particular on these mortgage debt-backed securities. What I'm going to talk about today is how some of those similarities can be seen in the housing market today, as well as why we're still fundamentally different. And the reason I pull this up is essentially to showcase, hey, this is what we're discussing, this is what we're talking about. And if you haven't seen the movie, I highly recommend it, but in my opinion, the book is even better. So let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the Hpi Index, or the Home Price Index, and this is utilizing the S&P over the Case-Shiller, which is essentially what we're going to do is look at the value of homes over time. This is a matrices or an indices that has been tracking this valuation since 1985. So you can see some of that info up available here. You can look at some of this at a more specific MSA or state level where you can get a little bit more in depth. As you can see, there was definitely a large increase that was rapid between the time period of 2002 all the way up to 2005, 2006, before we saw that financial crisis hit, and we saw a huge decrease over that period of time, and we're starting to see a decline continue after that. However, at this point in time, we have not only surpassed that, but we've blown past that exact same area, despite the fact that there are a lot more homes. There's a lot more supply now than there was then in terms of just homes on or outstanding, as well as from a financial standpoint, Americans by and large are doing a lot better now than they were leading up to 2008, 2009. However, I think one of the ways that we can showcase this in an even more important manner is the fact that if you change it to percentage change over time, and I'm going to shrink this down a little bit, you can see that the market rates were increasing 14% year over year during the 2005 time period. We saw some of that in 2013. Again, a lot of this was recovery based, but look what's creeping up. Again, we're seeing last year there was an 8.3, really 8.4% change over year home prices at the national level. Again, this is a time period where you used to say that the average increase over the stock market was 8% over a given year, 7% over a given year. Now we're currently seeing that in the real estate market, and that can be concerning. However, I think there's some important things to notate this, and I think there's some other ways that we can show this data in a meaningful way. And to do so, I have pulled up Redfin. This is, again, a housing search website similar to Zillow, where, again, I can look up a lot of available information, including kind of some of the housing market overview. So the cool thing that I want to showcase, and I think that this is excellent research that they've been able to provide, is to look at the housing market overview from a national level. As you can see here, the median home price, so this is not the average sale price, but rather this is in terms of all the homes that have sold over the past year, what was the price right in the middle of all those homes? And you can see that has gone up 13% in a single calendar year. Now, this is a little bit different than HPI because it is a different indices. Again, this is strictly the price over time. And you can see that even from 5 years ago, we're up more than $100,000 for the total price. A lot of this is being driven by a number of different factors. The first of which I want to highlight is that we are at record low interest rates. So right now we're looking at the 5-year viewpoint. If we went back to the Fed database, which is the Federal Reserve database used out of St. Louis, then you would see that this is all-time lows in history, or at least the past 50 years. I think we may have hit this point coming out of World War II. But this is an insane time to buy a home because, again, you're being charged on most 30-year fixed-rate mortgages. You're being charged 2.7%. And again, 15 years is even lower than that. So they are heavily incentivizing us to go and use this debt capability. However, because so many people have gone out and taken advantage of that, we're seeing a lot less supply. The other key item that I would highlight that is driving demand is because COVID has had such a huge influence on these urban populations. A lot of people have been leaving apartments and condos and looking for more space because they're spending more time at home. A lot of that has driven the housing supply to record lows. You can see this right here, 41% year over year decrease. There are currently less than 1 million homes for sale in the United States, which is incredible. And that is accompanying the fact that we've had a ton of people listing their homes. So if you look at over the past 5 years, we haven't seen any of that same level of decrease. Again, even just into early part of, or 3/4 of the way into last year, we still had more than 1 million homes for sale, where in some of these instances, you can see you're actually over 1.8. And this is just, again, insane. If you don't think we're in a bubble, this next stat that I want to show you on here should drive this home. Right now, 1/3 of all homes that are sold right now are selling for above list price. This is insane. You're seeing people bid $50,000 to $100,000 for homes above asking price. The other thing that is crazy here is all of them are selling. And that is just an insane statistic to be looking at. So we have all this demand, we have all of this lack of supply, and there's just nothing to incentivize buying a home right now except for these low interest rates right here. So this is one of the reasons why I think that this is going to continue to drive itself home in terms of, hey, we're going to have an issue associated with this because of the fact that, again, the supply is dwindling, the cost is going up, and there are still people trying to enter the market. So does this set itself up for a worst case scenario in terms of, hey, we're going to have the Big Short Part 2? I don't think so. There's definitely a bubble, but people aren't going to be put in their place the way they were in 2008, 2009. That may not be the best way to say that. Rather, people aren't going to be left holding these high-end payments. And let me show you what happened during that point in time. So as you can see here, I have pulled up a mortgage calculator using a lot of the quote-unquote normal approaches in terms of I've got a $350,000 home, and essentially what we're going to be looking at here is what happened during the last crash. Well, right now we just looked at the fixed rate mortgages, and during leading up to 2008, the big push was ARMs. Adjustable rate mortgages, ARMs. So what people were doing is they were getting these mortgages in the hope that interest rates would go down. However, as the collateral or the home prices went down, rates were going up, which means they were having to pay more than they were for a home that was worth less. So you can see right here under this example using a 2.8% mortgage rate, right now this is on a $350,000 home. And again, your monthly payment is going to be right at $1,500. However, a lot of people were not putting down 20%. They were putting down 3%. They were putting down 0%. So instead of having to pay $1,700 a month like you were under a fixed rate mortgage, because again, you're going to pay this for the next 30 years, this was changing over time with the interest rate yield curve. So as this creeps up, and again, we're not talking 2.8 to 3.8, if this goes to 5, your payment goes up by $400. And this was happening at the same time the home price was going down. So when this goes from 5 to, if we even go farther, to 7, you can see you're now paying nearly $1,000 more for a home that's no longer worth $350,000, but it was dropping as much as 30%. Again, we could look at that using the HPI metric, but that means that this home right here of $350,000 is now only going to be worth $260,000, and your payment has gone up by $1,000. And so people were walking away, causing the home prices to plummet, and there was just this huge mix mash. The reason I don't think that this is going to occur in the same format right now is because by and large people are taking advantage of the low interest rates and locking those in and getting the fixed rate mortgages. So that being said, even if home prices go away, ideally to qualify for these loans you would have had to make sure that you were capable of getting that loan anyway. So if we go into the amortization schedule right here, instead of being a year in, 2 years in, and seeing that remaining balance of $334 on a $350,000 home, what was actually happening is you were seeing that balance on a $260,000 home. And due to the fact this is a fixed rate, your mortgage isn't going to change, so things should be okay. That's just one example of what we're looking at. I still think there's going to be a lot of moves happening in the broader market that's definitely going to impact the price of homes. Right now, it's largely driven by the fact there's a lack of supply, and as people continue to migrate out away from the cities, I think that that's going to continue to be a catalyst for home prices continuing to hold their value. I'm especially bullish on the Southeast. Granted, I am biased associated with that, but this is one of those areas where I think that right now we may be approaching a top, but I do think that the top is going to blow off in certain geographic areas and others are going to benefit from it. This is all just my opinion though, and I'd welcome your comments down below, or again, feel free to hit me up in the Discord. So let me know if you have any comments, drop those down below, and if you found this content helpful, please leave a like and subscribe. Thanks everyone, talk to you later.